Good morning, everybody. We're just going to give people a second to get into the chat. We have Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton here with us. I'm so grateful that he's willing to talk to us. Ken, I get asked about what's happening in Texas nearly every single day on the campaign trail, so this is wonderful. I'll just take a brief minute to talk about the Attorney General race here in Utah, and then we're gonna talk to Ken, let him tell us about what's going on in Texas. So, and we are recording this, so we're gonna share this on our Facebook page and our campaign page, because like I said, Ken, everyone is interested in what you're doing. So I'm Rachel Terry, I'm running for Attorney General. We have 1 week, well, we have less than a week to the state convention. I'm really excited about it. April 27th, credentialing starts at 7:30 a.m. I'm a convention-only candidate, so your support as a state delegate matters the most to me. I am excited to be meeting with you all this morning at 8:30. I know it's early, and Ken has a really tight schedule this week, so it was really generous for him to come and talk to us. So it's 8:35. We're going to dive in, and we'll keep letting people in, and then we'll share this out. So as you all know, Ken Paxton is the Attorney General in Texas, and there's been a lot of things happening in Texas, and it impacts us. So I'll share with you, Ken, as I've been talking to sheriffs across the state of Utah, each one of them has expressed how much the illegal immigration situation has impacted their communities. There's one county, Millard County, it's a small population, large in size, and they have seen a massive impact because of the influx of illegal immigrants. It has impacted their schools, impacted their businesses. These are not people who are living comfortable lives. They're living in tough sheds and shacks, and it's had impacts from education to law enforcement to even things like car accidents in these counties. And people are often just sent bus tickets to go to these counties in Utah from wherever they're coming from, mostly from Texas. So Ken, if you could share with us what's happening at the border and what you're working on.
First of all, I want to thank you for having me on. I also wanted to mention that I did endorse you, and there's a reason for that. I worked with Sean Reyes for my entire time in office, which is 10 years. And Texas has been in the middle of many fights with the Obama administration when I started. And then, of course, we still fought things during the Trump administration, normally with him, which was kind of nice. And then that's all changed. We filed over 60 lawsuits against the Biden administration since he's been in office. And the great thing about Utah is that Sean Reyes has always fought with me. He's been one of the best attorney generals in the country. And so it's really important to me to have somebody else that will fight with us, because we can't do this alone. If it's just Texas, we're not going to win. And if we have other states that are willing to fight alongside us and with us, then I know that we can be successful, and that's what I'm counting on. So I really believe you're that person, and that's why I'm on this show today, and that's why I'm really pleased to endorse you and hope that you are able to join me when you're sworn in January. So to answer the question, Joe Biden decided on day one to announce that he would not deport anybody, which is a violation of his constitutional obligation to enforce federal law. And he made it very clear to the cartels. He was signaling, if you will organize and get as many people here as possible, we will help you do the transition. We'll take the handoff. You don't have to hide anymore. There's no, we're not going to enforce federal law. We're going to actually do the opposite, and we're going to help you guys. And you guys can benefit because you can average, they're making $8,000 to $12,000 a person. It opened up the border for their drug trade and other illicit activities, sex trafficking. The Biden administration knew all of that and said, hey, we're going to do this anyway. People find that hard to believe. All you have to do is look at what they're doing and know that's true. There is no hiding anymore. It is run to the border as fast as you can. The consequences of that are obviously devastating from the standpoint of increased crime, sex trafficking, children being trafficked, children disappearing, kids dying. We have the highest death rate ever from fentanyl. I think that's for ages 16 to 45. It's the highest death rate of anything. And that is a direct result of the policy of allowing the cartels to have a free border to reign on. On top of that, we have the risk of terrorism. We know that there are terrorists coming across the border. The Biden administration has accepted that as well in trade for the illegal voting. And I need to explain what I believe is the purpose. I used to think that it was a long-term strategy of getting more illegals here so they could have more votes. I think it's actually a current strategy. I'm coming to the conclusion, last time they did this with mail-in ballots, and I know it because I fought it in Texas and we stopped it. And then I saw exactly how that resulted in a change in the results in some of these states. Now, these illegals in 47 states, it is not a requirement. It's not you do not have to prove citizenship. And that's true in Texas as well. We tried to pass this last session and our Republican speaker aligned with the Democrats and killed it. So in 47 states, as long as you have a social security number, and there's another way you can do it as well, but I know social security numbers through the federal government who will issue those social security numbers, you can get a driver's license in Texas and you can vote. So I believe that's the current strategy. They move people into states where they think they need to win, and that is what is happening with illegal immigration.
So what are the things that you're doing in Texas? So you worked on that elections bill. What are some other things that you are doing in Texas that Utah should and be a part of?
So right now we've got basically several lawsuits that are critically important. One is the lawsuit related to cutting down our fences and our wire that we put up to protect our border and to protect government property. This is not the federal government's property, and yet they have no problems. There's no hesitation on their part to come in and cut down our fences, at least in the past. After we sued them over that in October, while the Supreme Court, we lost our injunction 5-4, we ended up stopping them from actually cutting down our wire. They haven't cut down a single fence since that injunction was lifted. So it's been remarkably successful, starting to protect our border. We also have we had a bill passed by the legislature that allows our law enforcement to deport people, and if they come back, then it's a felony. And so if they come back, we're going to put them in jail. We've been sued over that by the Biden administration. Of course, the Biden administration is opposed to us protecting our border and stopping illegal immigration, because as I said, their goal is to get people here to vote. And so anyway, we also have buoys put up in the water that are still there that we've been fighting over, and the Biden administration has stopped. So any reasonable thing that we do that they should be doing. And by the way, let me just say the theory here. We, as a state of Texas, would have never joined a republic that said to us, hey, we're going to protect you, but if we don't, you can't protect yourself. And I don't believe any state would have signed up for that. So this interpretation by any court, whether it's a Supreme Court or any lower court, that says, oh, the federal government has preemption here, they can do whatever they want, they can pass laws, then not enforce them, and then tell you that you can't protect your citizens. I can tell you that is not what the framers intended. That is not what states thought they were getting when they joined the union. And so I don't believe that should stand, because the state of Texas, the state of Utah should not have to sit by while the federal government cuts a deal with the cartels to allow all kinds of terrible harms into our state.
And what are happening? Are you seeing ICE or other federal agencies sending people out of Texas into the other states?
Oh yeah, of course the federal government doesn't tell us anything because they don't want us to know where these people are going. There's no cooperation, and there's no notice to states that get illegal immigrants. This is a long-term strategy. I believe it's created by Obama and some of his people, and their goal is just to transition people really quickly and as many as possible into Republican states that they think they can win by getting illegals to vote. And as I said, 47 states, you can vote. You don't have to prove citizenship. And if they can find a way to get you a social security number, which I have no doubt the Biden administration will do because they violate every other law, including the Constitution, they'll have no problem issuing social security numbers. And I'm deeply concerned about our upcoming election because I don't know how we stop it if they're issuing social security numbers. And only 3 states, by the way, 3 other states have passed laws to stop this, but they're in litigation over it right now because they've been sued, because everybody realizes this is the game. And if we lose this fight, we are going to become a one-party country forever, and we're going to have a republic that basically is controlled by one party. Because once they get control, once the Democrats get control of the election apparatus in the state, they're never going to allow for restrictions based on citizenship, and they're not going to do the things to stop fraudulent voting.
So the bill to be able to deport people from Texas who are there illegally, that did pass in Texas.
Yes, it went into effect in March, but the Biden administration and the ACLU, good partners, I think, sued us and got an injunction stopping us from implementing state law that was passed by our duly elected legislature that is designed to protect our citizens, because the federal government not only refuses to protect us, but actually encourages the very bad behavior of illegal immigration, and the consequences, all the crime associated with it, are actually being encouraged. They're not just not doing their job, they're actually doing the opposite of what they're supposed to do.
So one issue we've had in Utah is that we have people being sent to our cities. They just get bus tickets and show up without notice to law enforcement, without notice to state officials. And then we're trying to navigate what to do with that, provide services. One option that's been proposed is making it a felony to bring people into the state of Utah that they knowingly, that they know don't have a legal immigration status. Are there other things that the state of Utah that we could do, or other laws that you're seeing that might be effective that we could include here to deal with this immigration issue?
Possibly something similar to what Texas did. Send them on a bus and send them down the border and send them back over. Make the federal government sue all of us and say that we can't protect our citizens. Because look, they're doing the same thing to Utah that they're doing to Texas. They are sending illegals to do two things. One, vote and change your state and control your state. Two, they are creating severe economic consequences for Republican states. They know that people are moving. They're voting with their feet. They're leaving California, Illinois, New York because taxes are too high. Their policies are hard on people. They cost people a lot of money. So people are leaving those states to places like Texas and Utah and Florida and Tennessee, Republican states. And so by creating this cost, they're making it less desirable for people to leave the Democratic states. So they're inflicting damage on Republican states purposely because they dislike us. They hate us. They want us to fail, and they want our policies of more freedom, lower taxes, less regulation, and creating opportunities for families to succeed. They don't want Republican states to do those things.
Yeah, and in Utah, we've been really successful. We balance our budget. We focus on families. We focus on the institutions that make this state such a wonderful place. You've been able to spend some time here, and we're always grateful when you visit. So you've also fought the fight for states' rights generally. Like, that is something you've let out on for Texas. It's a big deal for the state of Utah. We, unlike Texas, over 60% of the state of Utah is federally owned. In some counties, it's over 90%. So this is a big deal for us in navigating these federal issues. What are some other areas that you've been collaborating with Utah to fight for states' rights?
So, as you know, the 10th Amendment was put there for a reason. And I remember in law school at the University of Virginia, when we asked about the 10th Amendment saying that basically whatever obligations that we didn't specifically as states give to the federal government are reserved to the states. They can't do more than we have given them. And yet, obviously, we're very far from the 10th Amendment. And I remember asking my law professor about that particular issue. And we were told in class that it was irrelevant. The 10th Amendment was irrelevant. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like an amendment passed by the people of this country that's in the Constitution? That was his view. It was irrelevant. It didn't matter. Well, that's not how I view the Constitution. So we have fought with Utah on all kinds of issues, a lot of issues related to the EPA and the development of energy independence have been a big part of what we fought for, because we truly believe that Texas and other energy states can provide resources so that we don't have to depend on Iran and Iraq and all these countries that dislike us. and we can control supply so that we have lower prices and we have more reliability. It's good for the American consumer. Another thing the Biden administration and the Obama administration have fought us on. They don't want us to have energy independence. They want us to be dependent. And how do you know? By their actions. They cut off our pipelines and they let Russia build theirs. So that tells you everything you need to do. They've cut up, they just have a regulation now where they're stopping the exportation of natural gas. It's a clean burning fossil fuel. It's excellent. And they don't want us to export. They don't want us to benefit from it. However, other countries are going to produce if we don't, and they're going to do it less efficiently. They're going to do it with more pollution. And it's also obviously good for their economy as opposed to ours. So those are the types of issues. There's other, like we're fighting on Title IX and whether, women's sports are going to be protected. The gamut of the types of things that we've had to sue on, because the way that the Biden administration and the Obama administration looked at this was, look, we don't like the Constitution. We don't follow it. And if we just make up our own rules, we don't have to go through Congress. Make the states sue us. Make them sue us on everything. And they know that we can't necessarily get standing on every issue. They know that we don't have the resources to fight them everything. But our job, I think, is to fight them on as many things as possible, because otherwise we're going to watch, and we are watching as we try to stop this, them try to destroy our US Constitution so that all the power remains with a few people controlled by one party and then a little oligarchy that rules that party. That's what the Biden administration is seeking. And they are a dangerous presidency, the most dangerous with the Obama administration that we've ever seen in America.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned energy independence, because we are an energy producing state. We have coal, we have natural gas, we have all kinds of minerals, uranium and others. And because of these federal policies, we found it very difficult to do the extraction and then the transportation of these clean burning fossil fuels. And instead, using a variety of laws like the Endangered Species Act and the waters of the US, all kinds of things that are trying to make it more difficult, more expensive for us to extract and burn our own fossil fuels, which makes no sense, because then we're just importing energy, like you said, from unstable and hostile countries, which again is crazy to me that we're doing that.
It's actually not crazy, because this is designed. None of this is accidental. They're not doing this because they don't understand the consequences of it. This is a purposeful assault on the American economy, on American independence as it relates to energy, just like the border is. They have an agenda. It's not America first. It's America. We're no better than any other country, maybe worse. And so they're not there to make America great. They are there to make us even with everybody else. That's the strategy. Then we'll be even with everybody else. We'll have a lot more international input, and not, I say input, we'll have a lot more international demands and requirements on us. And they're good with that. They're not just good with it. They want that. That's the direction that they want to go, so that you in Utah have less say over your government and less control with your vote, and virtually no control with your vote. Yeah, there'll be some Republicans around, but no ability to actually control the agenda or stop an agenda that's hurting Utah, Texas, and the rest of the country.
I want to ask you just a couple more questions, and then I know you have to go because you have a really tight schedule. But I get asked all the time about these lawsuits where Utah joins with Republican attorneys general across the country. And we, as you mentioned early on, Utah has joined a lot of those with Texas. We've been a part of that effort. Why does it matter to have more than one attorney, more than one state working on these together?
So there's two parts. One is, I think when you have more than one state, it sends a message to the courts. Hey, this is serious. Like, there's more than one. This isn't just Texas. This isn't just Utah. This is a conglomeration of Republican states. Usually, Democrat states don't care about these issues. They're in line with the Obama and the Biden agenda. I also think it's important that, as much as possible, that Republican attorney generals file in different circuits, so that we have an opportunity to be heard in many circuits, and we make the Biden administration fight us on several fronts on the same issue, because they gotta use their resources to spread it around. So that's a strategy that we pushed in Texas. So sometimes we'll encourage people not to join us in Texas, but to go file in another circuit. And I think we're starting to get that message across. That's certainly what the Democrats did to Trump, and there's no reason we shouldn't spread our resources around to different circuits where we think we can be heard and where the Constitution matters. And then we can have several shots at the same issue too, because it's more chances to win and get our case up to the US Supreme Court.
Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of issues that matter a lot to me. You mentioned energy, the Title IX. That's an area that I've worked with extensively in the last 10 years. And Title IX doesn't mean what it used to mean because Biden issued an executive order that completely changed the definition of sex. It was supposed to protect opportunities for women and girls, and now he changed what that means. And now he's issued all kinds of new regulations.
Pretty disgusting. I mean, that was the purpose. It's the intent of the voters who elected these representatives to follow federal law. And look, I had three girls, and now they're women, and they participated in sports. And had they had to compete against men, I mean, it would have been pretty unfair and pretty discouraging to them to, try to make a team where potentially there were men playing on their team. And, I think most American people, the reason we have Title IX is so that women would have opportunities, equal opportunities to participate in athletic activities and other activities. And the Biden administration says, no, we don't care what the voters wanted. We don't care what was passed by Congress. We're just going to rewrite this. And that's traditional with Obama and Biden is they think that they should make the decision. The voters are irrelevant to them because guess what? They're smarter, they're wiser, they're more elite, and they should decide because they're better than us. And that's their view.
Yeah, that's been made very clear to us. They don't think we're smart enough to figure out these things, but we do know what we want. And we know what the law, including the 10th Amendment, is supposed to do. And it's protecting states' rights. And Texas, like Utah, is well managed and fights for families and women in sports and our economic needs, our energy needs. So I want to thank you again for joining us on this and also for endorsing me. And for those who got on late, if you don't mind saying a few kind words again before I know you have to take off about why you're endorsing me for Attorney General in the state of Utah.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I really like Utah. I've spent a lot of time there. I enjoy the people there. I like the fact that it is a Republican state, so I'm drawn to that over other states that may have mountains, but are more liberal and less enticing to me. So I really want Utah to remain a state that cares about the Constitution, that elects good people, because that's part of the reason I want to spend time there. It's why I like spending time in the winter if I can skiing, and I also like getting away from the heat in Texas sometimes. I'm a true Texan, but I do enjoy getting away cooler weather at times. So I'm grateful that you're running. It's not easy. I've done this for, I'm in my 10th year as Attorney General. It's a hard job because it has so many demands. It's a full-time job, and it's 7 days a week, and it's usually pretty long days. So I have a lot of respect for you for taking on the challenge and caring about the right issues, and I think you do. And I've gotten to know you, not as well as some of the people in Utah, but I've gotten to know you, and I have a lot of confidence that you're going to be a great Attorney General. You're going to defend Utah from the very things that we just spent the whole podcast talking about, and that you're going to bring an energy and a competence and a set of values that will preserve the Constitution and the rule of law that we so much care about.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stay on and see if any of these people have questions for me, but you're really generous given your tight schedule this week to spend some time here with us in Utah. I just want you to know how much I appreciate the work you're doing in Texas because it impacts Utah. I hear wonderful things about you here in Utah. People really support the work you're doing. It matters to us. This immigration thing and the states' rights issues that you're fighting for benefits us. So thank you to you and your team for fighting for Texas, for fighting for Utah, fighting against these unconstitutional and immoral principles to help us keep Utah safe. And I appreciate all that you're doing, and have a wonderful week.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, and go win.
I will. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
We're going to let Ken go, but if there are specific questions that you have, and we're actually going to wrap up generally because I promised Ken we'd keep it shorter because of his tight schedule, but I will be available this week. We have as a thank you, we have movie nights across the Wasatch Front. We'll also have a variety of webinars so that you can ask me questions about my views. I've spent a lot of time engaging with you. I've spent a lot of time trying to make sure that you understand that I am committed to protecting the state of Utah. The fighting federal overreach is the #1 issue facing Utah in energy, in education, and in public lands. These things are time sensitive. And then, as you've heard Ken talk about it in the immigration space, making sure that we are fighting, protect not just our borders, but Utah's borders. And I will join with the state of Texas and other attorneys general to make sure that we are fighting to protect us, to make our state better and safer. The other things that I'm committed to are law enforcement and really providing the support that we need to make sure we keep our state safe. The Attorney General works closely with the sheriffs across the state. I've been endorsed by Cash, Weber, Davis, Carbon, and Millard sheriffs. I've been endorsed by county attorneys in Washington, in Tooele, and in Utah County, because they understand the importance of having someone who actually knows how to do the work and is committed to doing the work. I'm the most experienced when it comes to not only litigation, but legislation, policy, budgeting, all the things that an attorney general has to do. And I understand, like Ken said, that being the attorney general is a full-time job. It is 7 days a week. It's not just going around and being on the news. It is actually getting to the weeds of the issues. I hope that you could tell that Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton actually understands the issues. He knows what's going on in his legislature. He knows what's going on at the federal level. He's engaged in these issues, and that's what I will do. It's what I do every day. I spent last week in several meetings working on a variety of issues. One in particular is going to be a huge issue, and that's a states' rights and a federalism issue impacting one of our state agencies. I was with the top decision makers in the state trying to navigate what the best process is to move forward. So for me, this job is an abstract. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like to carry this weight, because I do that every day as I make decisions for the state that will have broad impacts. One of the things I'm doing in my current agency is restructuring a $1 billion insurance program that protects $62 billion worth of assets in this state. It is one of the largest programs in the entire country, and I'm working on it today. This matters to me, and that's why I'm running, because I know what a huge impact the Attorney General can have on the state. And I am so grateful for you for being state delegates, for you for being engaged in this effort, for you joining with me this morning to understand what's happening. And I'm really excited to be with you at the state convention this Saturday. It's going to be fun. And I hope that you will consider giving me your vote and your confidence and your trust, because I can promise you I will fight for you every day. I will be 100% focused on the fight. And I will apply conservative principles every single day as I work for you. I understand that you are the bosses. I am your employee. And so I will work for you every day. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. And I hope that you'll consider joining us for the other events the rest of this week. They'll be on my website under the events tab. It's rachelforutah.com. You can also send me an email. My phone number's on the website. You can call me with questions. I will be as responsive as I can. This is what I'm focused on. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful morning. And I look forward to seeing you this Saturday. Take care.